Garcia, and this is Blue Rain Gallery Podcast. Today we're joined in the gallery for a walk along with Jesse Littlebird. Welcome, Jesse. This is the second time we've had you for a podcast, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be fun for us to go through your work on this exhibit that opens up this Friday and discuss some of the inspirations behind it. Obviously, you have a lot of landscapes from different areas, and I know we'll end up on the major piece, which you have a nice story for. I'd like to encourage our audience to go to blueraingallery.com, scroll under the menu bar, blog, and you can see a video that Jesse produced on that major piece. Anyways, well, let's start here with these two landscapes. Obviously, this is all northern New Mexico, right?
Yeah. I mean, northern New Mexico is very close to my heart. Grew up in northern New Mexico. And it's just a vast area with a lot of different vistas and landscapes. It's pretty interesting to look at these pieces because they were done almost exactly a year ago. And it's fun for me to see the progression of like my vision with them and everything. Mm-hmm. These ones are kind of like a little bit of a departure from my usual style, where I started adding pinon trees, not just junipers. So they're fun. They're like I kind of look at them more like studies for like bigger ones. So
yeah. So what area of northern New Mexico are these from? Like Jemez area or?
I mean, so I did a lot of farming out in Jemez. So I always like to think the purple mountains are probably the Jemez Mountains or the Sangre de Cristos.
Yeah.
Or you could be like up near Abiquiu and stuff like that.
Well, it's beautiful, the natural light in New Mexico, how it changes color on the vistas, like the sandias. Mm-hmm. You know, it looks like a pile of dirt sometimes until the light hits it, and then it turns all like a watermelon.
Exactly.
You know, pink colors and hues. Is this about the time you started introducing symbols into the skies as well?
No, I think it's probably like the peak of it. I think 2022 was really when I was started introducing the symbols. The symbols represent a multitude of different cultures across the globe, really, here locally in the Southwest, but then also many different cultures. Pointed out like the obvious ones like are some of the cloud symbols, or this one's like a dragonfly symbol. Yeah.
Constellation points
as
well. Well, that's cool. I like that. It's fun to see your progression. You know, being an artist is about practice. And you don't just do it once and voila, it's there. You can see progression through careers, which is kind of fun to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, let's talk about this one, the council.
So I'm drawing from a lot of art history in here. There's been like Greek depictions of Greek councils, depictions of Roman councils, and then even like the founding father councils. So I looked through a lot of those older paintings, and I noticed that like it's just like a sea of like a rainbow of colors, and sometimes they're all kind of wearing the same colors. Mm-hmm. So me, very much attracted to color, and so this is kind of my depiction of a council that is like actually in a little bit of disarray. There's different characters in here that you have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters, and this one's kind of like almost like a two-faced, maybe even a two-spirit character, and then you have this character that's naked and is like dancing through everything, and then you have the two the couple right here. And then like this kind of shadowy figure back here. I spent a lot of time on this painting. And I think one of my favorite things about it is just like there's a lot to look at. There's a lot of different faces, a lot of shadow, and there's a lot of, I don't know. I'd like to think about what they're discussing and having a council about.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me that one of the hardest things that an artist can do, especially developing a scene, the construct. When I see this, it reminds me of the early Paul Plitka's that he's doing.
Yeah,
it kind of has that feel to it. Mm. So I like that, but it makes sense, the council.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on over here to these three. They seem to have a similar voice.
Yeah. So as a child, I was in the lodge a lot with my father. is it teepee, you know? And so like it's a lot of meditations on fire and a fireplace or a fire setting. I've thought about like even the making of a fire, the way that the sticks settle after a while, the way that we started out. It's like very like kind of like a Zen practice, almost, you know. And then by the time they settle out, they kind of cause this different abstraction. And these two in particular are studies for larger paintings that I'm going to do on a fire series. And then this one is like a combination of like my dad's studies that he did of deer paintings, and mixed with the fire as well. A lot of really fun stuff just happens like painting wise in them as well.
Well, they're colorful explosions for sure.
Yeah.
And I like that. And it's really freestyle. You're pushing a lot of material, paint material
Yeah, definitely.
around. So there's some good texture on these as well. The color palette, I like that too. It's pretty cool. Right on. This is one of my favorite paintings in the exhibit. And what I love about this is the clouds. It looks like you had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. So the technique on this is the same technique as the bigger one as well. And then, painted this live last year at Indian Market. So it was really, really fun to kind of get in that zone. And it always amazes me that like I have the moment before I start painting. I'm like, man, I'm going to be in front of all these people, but just get into it, you know? And I think it came out pretty cool. Yeah. Especially with being like it's all acrylic really, so.
Yeah, so it dried a little bit faster. So do you ever work with oil? Or is it mostly acrylic?
Actually, oils really. I've been getting away from acrylic. It's mostly oils, like all that down there.
All of these are oil? Okay.
Yeah. So
well, cool.
This one right here too is oil. This one and well, actually all of these pieces I'm really pretty excited about, but this is probably this show, what's exciting for it with me is that it's a very personal show. I think these are some of the more personal landscapes I've done. And even looking back to those smaller ones, like there's some of my own personal connection to them, but this one is of the Ortiz Mountains, looking from where my parents' property was. And last year we sold our land, so it's kind of like almost like a little bit of mourning in this painting, kind of like longing for that sense of home that I grew up at.
Yeah, that's a interesting feeling. I had the same moving from Taos, getting away from that beautiful mountain and stuff. What I like about this is the snowy peaks, but again, you have a lot of material like oil paint on here, and stuff, and then obviously you put your symbols in the clouds.
Yeah. So also, a fun fact about this painting is I used Bob Ross's paints and some of his technique.
Oh, really?
For like this top part of the painting.
Bob Ross, the happy painter.
Bob Ross was like always on TV when I was a kid, so like I had a lot of connection to that. And so I saw that you could just buy his paint still on like Amazon, so I got some space. So it's pretty fun. And then adding my own zone. So like this is a Ross bird. I called it a Ross bird landscape, you know.
Well, it's cool that you can experiment with different techniques and mediums, and that's what it's all about, the development. Yeah. And here's another landscape as well.
Yeah, so this is a fun landscape too. I think this is one of the last landscapes I made last year, 2024. Again, just exploring this idea of this is like kind of like a watercolor medium here in the top, using water-based pigment.
And we get the drips coming down.
Yeah, like just like letting things just happen kind of naturally, and you know, like let it dry and take a look at it. I'm not really having a preconceived notion of what it's going to look like. I kind of like to think this is out near like Cochiti, looking towards the Jemez Mountains.
So are these coming from just your memories of places, not necessarily from slides or photos?
Oh,
so it's kind of amorphic in the development.
Yeah, memories, dreams. I dream in landscapes. Like I feel like a lot of my most vivid dreams, I start out in like a vast vista, like landscape kind of area. So, yeah, a lot of like the landscapes, how they're developing, or even my style and series is like starting to think about the people that live in these landscapes or would be placed in these landscapes. So it's really fun. And these ones got like really a lot more intricate type of the symbols in here. Just some really intricate like cloud designs, but still keeping them a little looser too. It's really fun.
I think about the latest book that Billy Shank did, and he was talking about the pottery, the prehistoric pottery, but the Southwest has become depopulated as far as native peoples. Back in the prehistoric eras, like 600 to 800, these lands were filled with people. So, but that's what I think about too when I'm out there in the middle of nowhere, is who was here before. Exactly. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Just like this play between like there being people, but them being very stark, almost devoid of any kind of human contact. It's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And this is an unusual one too.
Yeah. So this, one of my favorite paintings from last year, I think, kind of the culmination of my whole year. It's taken from a picture titled just simply 1901 Indian man at what does it say? Forgot which prison it was, but
McNeil.
It's one of the early 1901 prisons, and it's right before he gets his braids cut. Right. And
so he's in a prison uniform.
Yes,
that's what the stripes are.
Yes, and you can even like make some connections even with like the clowns we have here in Pueblo too.
So why the split face in color?
I always think about a famous T.C. Cannon painting where he has the split face.
Yeah.
So there's some influence there as well. And then also my own identity being like half native too as well. So it's got some self-portrait in it a little bit, And I personally like where this has gotten of what I'm trying to achieve with like actual paints on the canvas. And just how, because it has this like, what draws me in like when I was a kid, like how I used to draw back in the day. I used to draw a lot like this back in the day. And as an adult, I've kind of gotten away from doing that. So like kind of reinstilling that creativity as a youngster involved into my later work is really, really exciting to me.
Looks like you have a lot of palette knife work in the background.
Yeah, I've been doing like this thicker, straight, just out of tube oil pigment on with palette knives.
Yeah, I like it when there's texture and a lot of material on there.
Oh yeah,
but that's pretty cool. Well, let's turn to the masterpiece of all masterpieces. Well, here we are with a masterpiece by Mr. Littlebird over here, and he has a story, as I referenced in the beginning, to the blog at blueraingallery.com. He did a great production on that. But go ahead and tell our podcast audience a little bit about this story.
Yeah, I'm going to invite you guys to check out the video. It's kind of hard to talk about this painting in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but this painting took me 5 years to get to this point where it's finished. It survived the fire that happened at my studio in 2021. And it sat in my studio kind of behind a bunch of other stuff for a very long time until last year I pulled it out and I was like, oh, I know what I need to do to finish this painting. Because it kind of represented a lot of that like grief from that era, also during COVID and all the stuff that was happening in the world around then. Stuff that was happening within my own personal family and stuff like that. And so the process of this painting was very therapeutic. And I sometimes forget that art is therapy for me. And so it's kind of poured my heart and soul out into this one. I like where the progression of the landscapes are going because I can kind of see where my next landscapes are going to be, especially with this. With some of the previous ones, I'm like using maybe bigger brushes or different techniques and like oil sticks, and this is like almost purely all brushwork. And then the clouds too. The clouds just kind of happened really organically. The sky happened organically. Like I say in the video, it's inspired by A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. I recently went and watched the Bob Dylan movie, and I was like almost teared up like when he gets to that part where he's singing that song. That song's like really super, I have a really deep connection to it because I remember listening to it with both my parents, like in the car, like in a little tape,
Yeah, the little tape.
Yeah, and then just like, I don't know, every single line in that song is like this, like just hits here, you know? And the painting that it was before was Andrei Tarkovsky's The Sacrifice. Him and Akira Kurosawa were big influences on me as a kid.
And that's referenced in your blog, right?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a picture of the scene
the
itself.
original scenes and everything.
So why you have a Pueblo, looks like a Pueblo native here, a female character. Why the female character?
So I think about my great grandma. Her name was Peregrina, and she's one of the last descendants of the Tano people. And she was actually part of the slave trade out near Madrid way back in the day for the silver mines out there.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And so she somewhat like, I might be butchering, I'm leaving out a lot of the story, but she's the one that made it to San Domingo and like is our lineage there in the Pueblo.
Okay.
And so I think about her just being this like singular figure looking out over the landscape and like not really knowing where she's gonna go. And that's why like the face is kind of hidden. So it's almost like we're kind of seeing her from this vantage point. One of my favorite things about this painting is like the sense of perspective. Like you can stand right here in the middle and it still seems like you would be looking at it from here. Mm-hmm. But even just standing from where I'm at, when you look at towards the figure, it really does feel like you're like right here looking to where she is and kind of like, almost like you're in on a secret, like you're not supposed to be there.
It's a great painting, Jesse. Way to go. Yeah. I didn't realize this, but you know, I fly a lot. Mm-hmm. But I just noticed the other day going up the escalators there, you had a big painting at the airport.
Oh yeah.
So when you come to New Mexico, make sure you look for the Jesse Littlebird.
It's the same painting. Size as this one. You
Yeah,
know?
it's pretty big. It's a good size piece.
It's pretty cool to see the progression from that painting that was painted two years ago to this one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, very beautiful. I love the progression and keep it up. Appreciate you coming in to give us a little preview.
Of course.
On the show.
See you guys Friday.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to encourage everybody to sign up for our podcast on any platforms that you follow. If you don't follow platforms, you can also go to blueraingallery.com under the menu bar podcast, which takes you to our wonderful YouTube channel. And also like to encourage you to bring art into your everyday life by going to our online store, bluerainprintshop.com. Thank you.